That was the hymn, God of Our Fathers, Bless This Our Land, by the composer Dudley Buck, with hymn text by John Henry Hopkins. Dudley Buck was born on March 10, 1839, in Hartford, Connecticut. After studying at Trinity College in Hartford, Dudley went to Leipzig to further his musical training. Some of his teachers included the organist Johann Schneider, as well as the composer Julius Rietz, who is most well known as being an editor and assistant to Mendelssohn. While in Germany, Buck cultivated his knowledge of the great German organ tradition, especially mastering Bach and Mendelssohn. Romantic influences would especially inspire Buck's future compositions. In 1862, Buck returned to America and was appointed organist of North Congregational Church in Hartford. In 1864, he published his motet collection, which were pieces, quote, suited to the opening and close of divine worship, end quote. Unfortunately, these motets aren't well known or performed today. In 1865, he composed his Grand Organ Sonata, Opus 22, the first organ sonata by an American. It was published by Schirmer in 1868. This sonata follows the strictest German Romantic tradition and contains technical demands that the majority of American organists at the time did not possess. In 1868, Buck published his most popular and well-known composition, his Variations on the Star-Spangled Banner, Opus 23. Although Buck had premiered and played his variations since 1866, he didn't publish them until his devoted following encouraged him after many successful performances. This set of variations remains a staple in the concert organist's repertoire. In 1869, Buck moved his family to Chicago, where he became the organist of St. James Cathedral, then known only as St. James Church. In the fall of 1871, the Great Chicago Fire destroyed Buck's church, home, and all of his possessions, which included a music hall next to his home, which was able to seat about 200 people and featured a 3-manual organ, as well as rare musical manuscripts. Buck and family then moved to Boston, where he was appointed organist of St. Paul's Church, as well as a faculty member of the New England Conservatory, where he taught organ, piano, and harmony. After his departure from Chicago, the city felt a great musical loss, which was echoed by music critic and journalist W.S.B. Matthews. Quote, "During the 3 years that he has been in this city, he has done more to elevate the tone of the profession than any other man. All the best church organists of the city, except 1 or 2, have taken lessons from him, and every one of them has a higher opinion of Dudley Buck's ability as an organist than before he was brought close enough to admit of measurement. As a teacher of advanced harmony, counterpoint, and fugue, he has a monopoly in this locality, and in my opinion deserves it. This is the greatest musical loss that the fire brought us." End quote. During this time, Buck continued his composition in addition to his church music, performing, and teaching duties. He published versions of well-known hymns, such as Rock of Ages. In addition to his sacred vocal anthems and organ music, Buck also published books on organ playing, choral directing, teaching, accompaniment, music history books, etudes, music exercise books, as well as orchestral music. After his successful stint in Boston, the Buck family undertook their final move to New York City, where he was organist of St. Anne's Church in Brooklyn Heights, next Holy Trinity, and finally Plymouth Church in 1902, where he remained a year and then retired. At the end of the 1800s, Dudley Buck's reputation as performer was extremely high. An 1890 article in the magazine Musical Courier, a magazine dedicated to American composers, wrote, quote, "Chief amongst them by reasons of his long popularity and national reputation, as well as by the great number of his works, is Mr. Dudley Buck. Of all American composers, he is undoubtedly the most widely known and appreciated in his own country." End quote. After the death of fellow American composer Edward MacDowell in January of 1908, the New York Press published an article hailing Buck as, quote, "the Dean of American Composers. Dudley Buck is perhaps the leading living American composer. A legion of churchgoers have sung his songs and listened to his music." End quote. After the establishment of the American Guild of Organists, Dudley Buck was named the first honorary president from 1896 to 1899. Most notably, fellow American composer John Knowles Payne was also a founding member of the American Guild of Organists. Buck's influence and inspiration were felt by all of his students, some of whom included Charles Ives, G.W. Chadwick, and Clarence Eddy. Dudley Buck died at his son's home in New Jersey on October 6, 1909, and was buried in Rosedale Cemetery. Quote, "It is no more than just to the memory of Dudley Buck to say that no musician in the United States made himself so widely and so genuinely felt throughout the country for more than a generation as he." End quote.